Welcome to the channel. It's Cassandra Mack here from CassandраMackMinistries.com. Today we are talking about one of the biggest reasons why so many people are constantly hurt and disappointed in their friendships. If you'd like more information about the ministry, my books, inspirational merch, or one-to-one coaching services, you'll see my Linktree link in the video description box. Let's dive right in. This video is being done by request. A young woman from Texas writes in because she is feeling sad, feeling disappointed because she has come to the realization that she is the peripheral friend on the peripheral of her friendship group. And I'm going to explain what that means in a moment. And so she reached out, one of the members of this YouTube channel. We're going to call her Jane Doe, not her real name. So one of the reasons, right, why a lot of people are often constantly disappointed when they are part of a friendship group is because they don't correctly assess the lane that they are in. And when you know the lane that you are in, and when you know the lane of the friendship, you are better able to decide what works for you, and you have a lot less emotional turmoil because you were able to see that, oh, this is what it is. It's not what I thought it was. We're not as close as I thought we were. We are cool, but we are cool to an extent. I am not really that person's BFF, even if I consider them my BFF. Okay, now that I know that I am free to choose how I want to move forward with this relationship, and there's no reason for me to be chronically disappointed because I now have enough information to know what it is. And when I know what something is, because we know people how? By their fruit, what they produce. So once I know what it is, then it is up to me to decide how much energy, effort, and time I want to give to this particular friendship group. So with that out of the way, most people, not everyone, I want to be very clear, most people usually have 4 lanes of friendship. Think about like when you're driving in a lane and there are other lanes, and sometimes cars will merge into one lane, but sometimes each car is in its own lane going in a particular direction. And so if we understand that most people have 4 lanes of friendships, and if you can identify the lane that you are in, you are better able to know how much effort and energy, how much to put into that friendship. And you can have a discussion about it with that particular friend who was part of that friendship group. So let's go through the 4 lanes of friendship. So first, there is what is known as the core group. This is like the nucleus of the group. Even if group members know other people, hang out with other people every now and then, there usually is a core group. And that core group usually consists of about 2 to 3 people who are in constant contact with one another. They know the ins and outs of what's going on in one another's lives. They really don't have to catch up that much because they're constantly in contact with one another, whether they're doing this on the phone or whether they are going out regularly with one another. So this is the core group. Then your second lane would be the inner circle. And these are the people after the core group that group members may go to for advice, support, to do fun things with. This may be a particular person that you do a particular hobby with, but they are still not part of the core group. Now, they are part of that individual's inner circle, but then even within the inner circle, there's an inner circle, if that makes sense. So that's lane number 2 when there's a friendship group. Now, just beyond the inner circle is the peripheral group. And your peripheral friends are people who you might see for particular occasions, or maybe you have a class together, maybe you work together, maybe you worship at the same church, maybe you both have children if you're parents who are involved in the same activity. So you do mommy and me play dates or daddy and me play dates, right? And so there is a reason, right? Because people come into our life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And so oftentimes your peripheral friends, you are coming together because there is a reason that brought you together. You have a class together, you work together, you go to the same church, your children are around the same age, and your children are friends. And because your children are young, they require you to chaperone them. And so when the parents get together because they're chaperoning the children, you know, you talk a little bit, you might enjoy one another's company, but outside of coming together for the parent group, you really don't come together. And here's where it gets tricky, because you can really enjoy somebody's company, enjoy the conversation, and you might think it's more than it is. And that person in their mind has put you in the peripheral. Oh, this is my mom group friend. And maybe in your mind, you're like, oh, this is just my friend. And so maybe something really sad happens in your life, and you reach out to them and they're not there for you in the way that you thought they would be there for you. And in your mind, maybe you're like, well, I would be there for them because this is my friend. But you weren't aware that they considered you their mommy friend. They considered you, oh, that's my work friend. And this is a hard pill to swallow. But as we get older, we realize, because we've seen enough of life, we've had enough life experiences, and we've seen enough things, whether it's from our own lives, our family members' lives. If you have children who are in college or young adult children, you would have seen this go through, you would have seen your children go through these stages. So you've seen it enough to recognize it and know what it is. And so a lot of times when we are disappointed, with the exception of a good friend betraying us or throwing us under the bus, with that exception, we're going to take that off the table. We're not going to deal with that in this video. Oftentimes the reason that we are constantly disappointed when we have expectations of a friend and they don't live up to our expectations, so to speak, is because we may not understand the lane that they've put us in. And a lot of times people don't walk around talking like this. And so they're not going to say, oh, this is my core friend, but this is my peripheral friend. It's more of an understanding. It is usually not spoken. But sometimes people say, oh, yeah, this is my friend from church. And so, as opposed to just, this is my friend. So you really want to know where you are, you know, within these lanes. And so are you the go-to person, you know, that the friend group reaches out to when they're planning an event, or do you find out after the fact? If you constantly find out after the fact that they're always getting together and they're like, oh, you should have been there, then this probably means that you are not part of that core group, even if you desire to be. Then this may mean that you are not part of that inner circle. You may be the peripheral friend. And so once you have an understanding of what lane that you are in, then you can begin to adjust your expectations so that you are not constantly disappointed. So that might mean that if this is your church friend, so to speak, and you see each other on Sundays, and maybe after church you get a bite to eat, and you're like, okay, see you next Sunday. And maybe you might even call one another for prayer, but you don't talk every day. You are better able to adjust your expectations, and you are better able to say, okay, this is my friend that serves this particular purpose. And when we are clear that no one person can meet all of our emotional needs, right? Even within a friendship, no one person can meet all of our needs for support. And we can begin to understand that people really do come into our lives, as Maya Angelou says, for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And one of the most difficult things for a lot of people to do when it comes to friendship is differentiating who are the people who are in your life for a reason. They come into your life for a reason. And when it's time for you to go your separate ways, there's no bad feelings. You don't have any conflict. It just kind of drifts apart, right? So we'll use the parent friend. your children grow up, they no longer require you to chaperone them. They are now, 18, 19, however old they are. You're probably not going to be doing mommy and me dates with your 18-year-old. So that may just kind of fizzle out and you don't really hear from one another, but there's no bad blood. When you see one another, it's all love, it's all smiles. You have fond memories of the times that you've had your mommy and me dates, and you're able to bless and release them. And so when we are clear, it really does allow us to know where people fit within the grand scheme of our lives. And then the fourth lane are our acquaintances. And these are people who you know in a friendly way, but they are not your actual friends. So this could be a neighbor who you could borrow an egg from or some sugar. But you're not actually friends, but you are friendly when you see one another. These can be people that you see in your neighborhood. Maybe you run every morning and you see the same faces on your path where you run. You smile, you say good morning. You may see one another at a coffee shop. You may even talk a little bit as you grab your coffee or water, but you know that you are acquaintances. You are friendly. You know them in a friendly way, but you are not actually friends. The expectation is not that they are going to be there for you in the same way that someone who was part of your core group or inner circle. And so here's the challenge that I want you to consider. If you find that you are on the peripheral end, like the person Jane Doe, not her real name, who wrote in, who was very disappointed of a particular friendship group, begin to consider how you want to move forward with that friendship group. Do you want to have a discussion with the person within that group who you feel the closest to? And would you like to let them know, like, hey, I'd like for us to spend more time together, do more things together, feel them out. And if they're not really open to it, then you know what it is, to leave it alone. And if you see that they're open to it, not by their words, but there's actually a change in the behavior, they're starting to invite you to more things, and you are beginning to deepen that level of friendship. Because in order to build the bond, it does take time, and it is an investment of your time, right? So that's one option. It is your option. You will pick the option that works for you. Or you may decide, if you have already extended yourself several times and you notice that it's not being reciprocated, or you notice they only come around when they need favors. You are the chauffeur. When they need a ride to the event, when they need money, when they need some sort of favor, whatever that favor may be. They can find your phone number when they need a favor, but they can never find your phone number to check on you, when crises happen, when there are things that go on. And so if you find that that is the dynamic within that friendship group, then you may want to exercise option 2, which is falling back. And as you fall back, you are not falling back with resentment. You are falling back with the understanding that that is not your core group, that is not your inner circle, even if you thought it was. You are falling back with forgiveness. You are falling back without resentment, and you are falling back with the understanding that for whatever reason, these 3 people are the core group, are the nucleus of this friendship group, and I have assessed that based on, and then you can spell out, how you assess that. Do you see that they always get together, but they never call you? Do you constantly see all the pictures on social media, but it's always you should have been there, but you never get the invitation? And so at some point, it's not about being mad, right? It is not about getting angry, even if you feel disappointed. It is about recognizing this is the dynamic here. I have to respect this person's choice, that this is their core group, that this is their inner circle. And as a result, I need to fall back, and I need to pull back my energy. I need to pull back my level of effort. That means that if you're constantly calling everybody in the friendship group and nobody ever calls you, it might be time to fall back and not call as much. Not from a place of I'll show them, not from a place of you trying to get at them, but from the place of you want to reserve your energy, your support, your effort for those who truly appreciate you. And when the time is right, you will meet people who you are more aligned with and you have more in common with. And sometimes you have to let one thing go to make space for something else. So it's kind of like you're looking for a car, or you want to get a car, and you have a car already in your garage, right? Where are you going to put the new car? And so I'm using that as an analogy, but sometimes it is about letting people go with love when we realize we're not aligned. We're not walking in agreement. Amos 3:3 says, can two walk together except they be agreed? And so you might be under the agreement or trying to agree that this is your core group, but based on their behavior, their conduct, what they are producing within that friendship group, and we know people by their fruit. Fruit is what you produce. They are clearly showing you, if this is the case, that you are the peripheral friend, right? Then it may mean that it's time for you to fall back. It's time for you to set some boundaries. Do not be the chauffeur. Do not be the person coming to the rescue all the time when you cannot count on support from them. And I want to be clear that that is not being tit for tat. That is understanding the law of reaping and sowing. And so when a farmer sows seed, a farmer is sowing a seed with the expectation of a harvest at the proper time. So when you are sowing seeds of support, when you are sowing seeds of encouragement, when you are sowing seeds of loyalty and being there, and come harvest time, there's absolutely no fruit, it's barren. That's just not using wisdom. That doesn't make sense. And so begin to think about, do I want to have a conversation with the person who I am most close to, if you are the peripheral friend, and let them know that I definitely would like to spend more time. I'd like to get to know people a little bit more. Or have I already done that, extended myself over and over and over again? And when I assess the behavior of the group, I realize that I am being used, that I am only the person that people call when they need a favor, when they need something from me, when they need money. I mean, you can put the thing in that they need. But there's no genuine effort in building a friendship with me. So if you begin to realize that, then it's time to fall back and begin to understand that it is what it is. Now, this doesn't mean that if you're invited to a birthday party, if you're invited to an event and you feel like going, do you go? But you're going with the understanding that this is not your core group. And I think that a lot of people don't use that level of clarity when it comes to their relationships. Think about when you have a coworker who you don't know well, who has a death in the family, and you go to the funeral along with some other coworkers. Perhaps you give them a card, because you are extending compassion, kindness, and support, right? And so you may not know one another well, but you still go to the funeral because it's in your heart to go to the funeral. But you also have the understanding that the coworker is not your sister or your brother. Your coworker is not part of your core group. I'm using your sister or brother. You can insert the person. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing. This is what I'm getting at. You really can begin to assess. It is your life, how you want to live your life with the people who you are doing life with. And so begin to think about, what lane do you fit in? And sometimes we put people in lanes that could really be great friends to us because we have a narrow definition or a narrow concept of what we believe a good friend might be. Maybe you're looking for someone who's within your age range, and you may find a great friend who's significantly younger or significantly older. Two of my closest friends, we are in different generations. One is significantly younger, one is significantly older, and we are very close friends. You may be thinking that your friend is going to look like you in some sort of way, and you might be as different as night and day on the outside, but your hearts, that's where the similarities are. Your hearts, your character. And so begin to be open to, perhaps there's somebody who wants to be your friend. They call you, they invite you, like, oh, they so boring, I don't want to go. And you may find that you will have a wonderful time if you open yourself up to new people. And so I want to leave you with a scripture that really speaks about the importance of having people who sharpen you. And so this lets us know that relationships are supposed to be reciprocal. Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, a man should sharpen the countenance of his friend. As iron sharpens iron. And so the analogy given here is one blade sharpening the other blade. So it's not just one blade that sharpens one blade and then the other blade doesn't do any sharpening. The blades sharpen one another. So as you go through the different lanes of people that you know, the people who you consider your core group of friends, the people who may be part of your inner circle, the people who you know peripherally, and then your acquaintances who you are friendly with, but you may not actually be friends, so to speak, right? Begin to assess the people in those various lanes and begin to ask the question, who's sharpening me within this lane? And who am I sharpening? How are we making each other better? Because there are times, right? Think about someone who is an entrepreneur friend. Maybe you are an entrepreneur and this person is an entrepreneur as well, and you come together to exchange ideas, but you may not talk about your personal life, but that still is a friendship where there is fruit being produced. It is the fruit of entrepreneurial support. So that person is in your life for a reason, to help you on your entrepreneurial journey as you help them, even if you don't talk about more personal things and you don't have like history from high school or college. And so don't automatically think that because you know someone peripherally that it means that there's no fruit in that relationship. This is why you really have to give some thought to the different people in your lane and the different lanes that you are a part of as it relates to the friendship groups that you're a part of, so that you can see what works for you. Is it time to have a deeper conversation with the person whom you feel the closest to within one of those groups? Or is it time to readjust the lane that you were in? Or is it time to begin to pull back, not be as available, not allow yourself to be used, with the understanding that this is a peripheral relationship and I must treat it as such? So you will decide what works for you, but I hope you found this helpful. Couple of quick announcements. Are you part of our Wednesday Wellness Club? If not, what are you waiting for? So if you are a member of the Cassandra Mack YouTube channel at the 2nd tier or higher, there are many great features. Some of the features are the Wednesday Wellness Club. It meets the 1st and 3rd Wednesday of every month, and we focus on wellness, mental health, self-care, emotional mastery, all through a biblical lens, and that happens the 1st and 3rd Wednesday of every month. It is a live conference call, so you get to talk to me, and you get to talk to not just me, but you get to talk to like-minded people who are focusing on their self-care as well. You also, at the 2nd tier, you get access to the online book club. So our next book club meeting is October, and that's where we do deep dives into my authored books. So if you'd like to be part of our book club, become a member at the 2nd tier or higher. And you also get the replays of Church by Phone. So the live call, Church by Phone, is always open to the public, free, available to the public. But the actual replays, you need to be a member at the 2nd tier or higher. And if you are a member of the 3rd tier of the Cassandra Mack YouTube channel, we now added a weekly journaling club. It is a success and self-care journaling club where there are guided journaling prompts each week where we do journaling. And so if that sounds like something that is of interest to you, click on the join button. You'll see that there are 3 levels of membership. You can review what comes with each level of membership so that you can make the selection that's best for you, that's right for you. And if you are not ready or able to be a member at this time, please continue to enjoy the public videos that are available free to the general public. So with that being said, have an amazing day. Take care of yourselves and each other. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.